4 to 5 years back, like even when I was applying to college, or even before that, a little bit before that, everyone was always telling me, asking about career and all that, and always telling me that tech is one of those places that is secure. Everyone should go inside of tech. It's a guaranteed job. It's guaranteed job security. Look now, like nah, bro.
So when I left Google, I applied to my current employer, a few others, and Meta. While I was interviewing for my current role, I actually got an offer from Meta, or I should say, I passed their interviews and I was in the team matching process. And then they put all of their roles on hold, or all, at least recruiting, hiring on hold, and started layoffs. Every other week, I am reminded of how much of a blessing it was that I did not get that job at Meta. Between the layoffs and now Mark Zuckerberg saying that he wants more masculine energy in the workplace.
In today's business and financial news, let's discuss the recent Meta layoffs. We promise that at some point this channel will return to more positive content. Today's Valentine's Day, so it only makes sense that we would cover something different. But yet here we are talking about layoffs. But like we said, soon we'll talk about more positive items.
Well, you knew it was only a matter of time before one of the big corporates tried to figure out how they could lay off a bunch of people, mass layoffs without severance. And it appears Meta's going to be the one that tests this. They announced layoffs of up to 5% of their workforce. I think that's close to 4,000 employees. And they're using performance reviews in order to decide who they're letting go. Now, there's mixed signals. So if you're in Meta and you've got one of these severance packages, let me know. But I heard it's going to be minimal compared to what a traditional layoff package is. So maybe they're trying to skirt around the legal issue. Again, this just brings it into call, are they phantom pips? Are these folks at a performance review after 20 years without any issues? They got one performance review and now they've been terminated. To me, this sounds like a way to turn over the folks they want out of the organization subjectively. Could it be age related? Could it be cost related? I would bet almost everything I have that it's going to be cost related. Because they even said that they're going to backfill some of these positions. Guess what? They're going to backfill with cheaper people or offshore talent in order to do this. So again, I think this is just the first step. You're going to see a lot of these other big orgs follow this, especially if there's not a ton of pushback on what Meta's doing. Curious to see if this is legal.
Let's look at this Fortune article entitled "Laid Off Meta Employees Blast Zuckerberg for Running the Cruelest Tech Company Out There," as some claim they were blindsided after parental leave. I'm sure this article will get more into it, but people have been posting to social media that they were laid off from Meta. They're stating that the employees who were laid off due to lack of performance. And the employees are stating online that that's not the case, that they were performing just fine, and that Meta should not have laid them off.
Okay, so listen to this. So Meta, which is the company that owns Facebook and Instagram, plans to lay off about 5% of its employees, which is around 3,600 people. Now, they say that these layoffs will focus on workers who are not meeting performance expectations. The CEO, Mr. Mark Zuckerberg here, stated that this move aims to improve the company's overall performance. So the affected employees will be notified starting February 10th, and supposedly they said that they will receive generous severance packages. I would like to see those severance packages, because what do you mean generous? You need to give us the details. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so they're laying off people, so they're not going to hire new people. Well, despite these layoffs, Meta still intends to hire new employees to fill these positions later in the year. Apparently, this approach is part of Meta's broader strategy to focus on key areas like AI and new technologies. Now, I'm just speculating here, but I really do think that these performance-based layoffs have something to do with the return to office mandates that have been going on. As we all know, Mark Zuckerberg wants his employees in office, and I'm sure a lot of his employees are not wanting to comply. And so this non-compliance might be interpreted as a performance issue, and thus these employees are being laid off. Just a thought, but what are your thoughts?
It says Silicon Valley has entered a harsher new era, and Meta's laid off tech workers have sounded off about the culture shift on popular forum Blind. I've never heard of the forum Blind. On popular forum Blind? We're going to show you some clips from TikTok. I don't know about Blind. Employees at Meta, the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, are taking to public forums to blast leadership after the company's latest cuts. On Monday, Meta started making what it claimed were performance-based layoffs. CEO Mark Zuckerberg said in an employee memo last month, as reported by Bloomberg, that he planned to cut around 3,600 positions, or about 5% of the workforce, in said performance-based layoffs. But many of the employees affected by the move are speaking out on social media, stating that they have no prior history of not meeting company expectations. So this should be interesting if Meta is stating that the former employees were laid off due to performance, and the employees are stating that that's not the case. You can see how this would be problematic. One item we saw online was someone who referenced that before they no longer had access to the company resources, that they collected evidence of their former reviews with the company, I guess their performance reviews, to show that they had been performing just fine. We'll see if anyone in this article did the same thing. The hardest part is Meta publicly stating they're cutting low performers, so it feels like we have the scarlet letter on our backs. One anonymous employee told Business Insider, "People need to know that we're not underperformers." Meta did not immediately respond to requests for comment.
This man laid off 5% of Meta's workforce 2 days ago, and he said the layoff was focused on low performers. This man said that he wanted to raise the bar on performance management and move out low performers faster. That's messed up, and let me tell you why. One, not normal. We don't do this. There's implications sometimes that layoffs may consider performance, but it's not explicitly said, especially by the CEO. Two, imagine you're trying to get a job because you were just laid off, especially in this economy, and you go to put your resume in, or you send somebody a resume and it says the date that you were laid off. They're going to know that you were lumped into this group. You go on LinkedIn, you say, "Hey, I was laid off," which a lot of people do to see if they can make connections and get interviews. They're going to know you were in this group. They could literally sue him because of this.
All right, now we know why Mark Zuckerberg was so quick to say that these were performance-based cuts and not a mass layoff. It's because if they did another mass layoff, they would not be able to do their H-1B visa, their certification, the labor certification for perm, because they actually had green cards blocked for a long time because of these mass layoffs. However, if they call it performance-based, even though we know it's not, then they will not get their green cards blocked. So I would encourage anyone who has been impacted by the latest round of layoffs, if you have copies of your performance reviews, if you have any other evidence, definitely go to attorneys. But unfortunately, in the current environment that we are in, I feel like Mark Zuckerberg thinks he's pretty confident he's going to get away with this.
Over on Blind, an anonymous app for verified employees often used in the tech space, employees are noting that an unseasonable chill has come over Silicon Valley. So that's what Blind is, an anonymous app for verified employees used in the tech space. Are you all on Blind? Let us know if you've used Blind before. Back to the article. Besides allegations of the company misusing the low performer label, some also claimed that Meta laid them off while they were taking approved leave. "I consistently exceeded expectations multiple years. Had a baby in 2024, got laid off. That baby." Well, that's what one former Meta employee said. They were responding to a fellow employee's comment about dozens of people with pristine histories and exceeds ratings that took parental or medical leave and got laid off. Another employee who says they were on maternity leave for 6 months added they had no history of below average performance and are seeking legal advice. Another Meta cast-off called the layoffs cruel, adding that some people were pushed to lowest ratings while on medical leave. Okay, so all of this sounds unfair, but it sounds as if at least one person is seeking legal advice, probably more than one. But really, do you want to get into a legal battle with Meta? Maybe they could do like a class action lawsuit. But you and your lawyer against Meta on your own, that sounds very time consuming and costly. And you have to think that Meta's lawyers likely did their research before they decided to proceed with the action of terminating these various employees. So that might be a difficult legal battle. Back to the article. Seems it was more about money than performance, said the Meta employee, adding that people with almost a decade of experience at Meta were axed. Be careful about joining this company. Zuck doesn't care about his employees, only the company, they wrote. Meta is now one of the cruelest tech companies out there, wrote a Meta worker, or really is only now for young workers without a family that don't have anything else to focus on rather than making money. That's an interesting summary. So then it goes into cultural shift in Silicon Valley. The tech world has been going through a pendulum swing for some time now, and it's hitting workers on their backs. Employees have been subject to waning job stability in the form of layoffs, decreased flexibility with return to office mandates, and a change in culture as CEOs cut DEI initiatives while publicly backing President Trump. Yep, so a lot has changed over the last few years with respect to Silicon Valley and the tech world. We agree. Culture at Meta, once supposedly synonymous with Sheryl Sandberg and her lean-in feminism standing at the helm, turned a page as Zuckerberg told Joe Rogan, the podcaster Joe Rogan, that companies need more masculine energy. A Microsoft employee wrote on Blind that a friend from Meta was told to find someone to let go of, even though everyone was performing at or above expectations. Yep, that's something these companies can do. If they need to cut a head count, they just sometimes have to choose someone. Doesn't necessarily matter on performance.
Zuckerberg mentioned that he's doing this because he has decided to raise the bar and that those employees were underperforming and that he only wants the strongest talent at Meta. And this is because they are focusing on the smart glasses that nobody wears and enhancing their AI. Mind you, Meta just did a mass hiring in September 2024 and staffed around 72,000 people. We all know in these cases that the new hires are always the first to go. What's diabolical in this situation is as they are firing people this week, they are also starting their recruiting process to have people fill those positions, which can take until mid-March. Dude, no one is going to want to work for you. Like, broski, read the room. You're the main reason why the tech industry is messed up and why people have been laid off for months, even years. He overhired during COVID and laid off staff in November 2022. He laid off more people in 2023 to focus on his AI, and now he's laying off people starting today. And apparently the reason why he's classifying these people as low performers is because he simply doesn't want to pay them severance. But I can assure you one thing, these people are not low performers. They go through multiple rounds of interviews and do several assessments in order to get a job at Meta. These people are innovative and highly skilled, and I wish the best for them in their future. They don't deserve this.
Back to the article. All of these layoffs this year are payback for 2021 to 2022, they wrote. Execs were terrified of the power workers had at that time and saw the offers and pay at that time are unsustainable. Best way to stop that is to put the fear of God back in the workers. Another commented that they knew someone with 5 years of exceeding expectations who was fired, claiming that managers abuse the system to fire people they simply do not like. Yeah, that's more important than people realize in corporate America. You like to think that you work at a meritocracy where you're judged based on the quality of your work. But a lot of times hiring and firing in corporate America can simply come down to who a manager likes, who fits in with the culture, as they may explain.
So you've interned at Meta 3 summers in a row. You leave with a return offer.
Sweet.
You think things are looking all good, and then what happens?
I was gonna join in like November. So I moved to New York actually, and they put me in like temporary housing. And I'd go to my apartment tour. I found a nice apartment in Brooklyn. I'm like, oh, sweet. And I was about to sign the lease, but I was like kind of hesitant at the time. It's like hadn't started work yet. I think it was like gonna be like my second day. I was like, you know what? Let me just like chill. Let's wait. I don't have to sign it right away. There's no rush. I remember like the night before. I think it was like my first day going into the office. I was like, yo, I literally like got on my bed and prayed, like, and I was like, God, like everything's going so great right now. I'm like, yo, you're cooking, like, yo, this is tough. But I was like, if like I feel like things are going like too good, and like if this is not the route that you want me to go, just disrupt stuff. I said, amen. I disrupt stuff. I went to bed. That's like the last thing I said. Went to bed. Woke up the next day, and like I'm away into the office. First day going to the office, I'm teed. I'm so hyped got the best fit on. You know, I'm like trying to impress everybody. Like I'm on the train. I get this email actually that says like, oh, everyone should stay at home for today. We're coming out with an announcement later today. I think like it's best if people don't come into the office today. I was like, all right, that's weird. I'm still on my way. I'm going to get this free food. So I'm like, yo, like I'm in that. So I pull up to the office and then I start hearing like, yo, like they're laying off people. I'm like, oh, I'm chill. I just started. There's nobody gonna lay me off. Right. So I heard that people got the result around like 11:30 noon, but it was like noontime. I had not gotten any result. I'm like, all right, I guess I'm locked in. I'm here. Everything is sweet. Turns out I was on the West Coast orientation. So it was 12:30 and I had not gotten the email yet. Yeah, and I was in New York. So I was like, since I work remote, I was working on West Coast. So they hadn't really transferred me over to New York. So I'm there, I'm sitting in the office, I'm like going through all this orientation stuff. And then like 2:33 hits and it's like, I'm sorry, we had to make some tough decisions. You're no longer at the company. And I was like, damn, low-key like it's like your whole world kind of comes crashing down. And like I remember like feeling mad, flustered, emotional. I think I definitely cried. I don't know, like, what do I do? Like, at the time, like, scared to even call my parents. So I called my brother first, right? And I was like, and then I called, and he's like, you should call mom and dad. And call my mom and dad. And like, my mom was so comforting. She said, oh, don't worry. Like, you can just come home. I go to the mini kitchen, raid the mini kitchen, take all the snacks. This is the last time I'm here.
You're like, I'm leaving with something.
Yeah, I'm leaving here with something. Yeah, I said, I'm leaving here with something, right? I didn't sign the lease because like, okay, I was like, low-key dodged the bullet because I would not have anyone to pay.
That would have not have been
right.
Good, yeah.
Moved back home and like it was probably one of the darkest winters of my life. But like, you know, in the darkness, that's like where like really I feel like built my confidence and faith in who I am right now, but my faith in God a lot more because it was just me, my family, and like God. Everyone had kind of started their career path already. And it seemed kind of selfish to be like, yo, bro, I'm kind of going through a hard time right now when people are like just now locking into the career. I'm like, I have to just kind of figure this out on my own and understand that people are going and things happen for a reason.
Thanks for listening. See you soon.